Hello once again and welcome to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. I'm Dean Beckman, joined once again by the Sports Information Director for St. Mary's, Donnie Netto. Glad you could join us for another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. This is the sports show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. And Donnie, today we have several things to feature. We're going to be talking about some really exceptional student athletes. We'll talk about Mark Schumacher a little bit later from the men's basketball team and a lot of the volunteer work that he's been up to and some awards related to that. Also, Bob Kinne will be our interview guest today. Bob is from the men's hockey team, and I know you have a lot of questions for him, and it's always good to hear from our student athletes and get them in here on the Cardinals Nest for the interview. And also from the men's hockey team, we'll be talking with Marty Gruse, Ricky Palermo, a student at St. Mary's, also a videographer here at HBC. He talked with Marty Gruse from the men's hockey team. So we have Bob, we have Marty, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today here on the Cardinals Nest.
Yeah, it should be a busy show today. And you know, I like the way you mentioned some outstanding student athletes, because we really do have. And you know, any sport that we talk about today we're going to be able to really focus on some outstanding student athletes. And you had mentioned Mark Schumacher and you know, the great honor that he got as a nomination for the All-State Good Works team. And you know, Mark is an epitome of what a student athlete really is, and the volunteer work that he's done over the years, and you know, then to add to that, you know, his performance on the basketball court for the men's basketball team it really shows that, you know, these people are such well-rounded individuals, not just athletes, but students as well, and really ambassadors to the communities, not only here but abroad.
And the other thing I like about our interview segment, we'll of course talk about the performance of the men's hockey team, which has been exceptional once again this year, but it'll be good to get Bob Kinne in here because we get to meet them, learn more about them, and get their perspective of what's going on.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. You know, it's always fun. I really enjoy having the students on here, and you know, we get to grill them a little bit. And you know, the thing that Bob forgets is that I went to school with his father, so you know, he and I go way back. So you know, it'll be fun to have Bob on here, and I'm really excited to talk to him about this season that the men's hockey team has had. You know, you look at right now heading into the Concordia series this weekend, they're 6-0-2 in their last 8 games, and you know, since the MIC showcase, they've been unbeatable, and you know, I think that a lot of people expected it because of the success they had last year, but you know, I'm sure Bob's going to be the first one to tell you that it's been a lot of hard work to get them where they're at right now, and you know, I'm excited to see what they can continue to do.
Yep. All right, so we'll talk to Bob in just a few minutes here on the Cardinals Nest, but first, Donnie, the women's basketball team still undefeated on the season, 4-0 as they get going now with conference play, and we had a chance to see them and some good tests for them recently against La Crosse and Eau Claire, and they passed both of those tests. In that last game against Eau Claire, I thought that was a particularly effective game for the Cardinals because Eau Claire has some really good, really tall post players.
Yeah, I think that I was going to say, I think when you talked to Coach Pollari, that was one of the things he said about the Eau Claire game. He had the 3 games leading up to that, and the competition kind of fell right where they needed him to. But he did figure with Eau Claire that you know, the size that they brought to the game was going to be a huge test for them. And like you said, they certainly passed with flying colors. I think the neat thing that you see with this team is, one, because of the experience that many of them have over the past couple of years and the success that they've had, they're very confident. You look at the St. Benedict game, you look at the La Crosse game, and you look at the Eau Claire game, they were either tied or trailing at halftime in all 3 of those games, and yet came away in the second half and won them all. In fact, in the Eau Claire game, they were down by 9 with 5 minutes to go and go on a 14-2 run to win that game. And so I think that the experience that they have, coupled with a couple of very talented newcomers, I think that the women's basketball team is going to surprise a lot of people this year. I don't think teams in the MIAC really expected them to be as good as they are. And the game against Gustavus and then this weekend at McAllister are going to be great tests to really see where they're sitting in terms of the MIAC.
Right, because they've had only non-conference games. They did play St. Ben's, but that was also a non-conference game. So it'll be interesting to see how they stack up against some conference opponents. But going back to that Eau Claire game, Donnie, that was a really exciting women's basketball game. As you said, it was kind of back and forth. I think there were 10 lead changes challenges in that game, and Sam Jones and Brandy Blattner held their own against the post players for Eau Claire, but they got a lot of guard help down low. I think Coach Pollerai does a nice job of having his guards double down to help out in the post.
No question. And really, the neat thing about this team is you can start talking about, you mentioned Sam Jones and you mentioned Brandy Blattner. The real surprise to me so far through 4 games has been the play of Michaela Meredith. She had a career-high 22 points against Eau Claire. She had 18 points against La Crosse. She's really kind of stepping into her own, and the Cardinals lost their top 2 scorers from a year ago, and Michaela is picking up that slack, and I think that was the intangible that a lot of people were looking at from this team is how are people going to fit, how the piece is going to fit for Coach Pollerai as he tries to meld this team into his team. And certainly you got to tip your cap to Brandy Blattner. What a great game against Eau Claire, 12 points and 19 rebounds. We haven't had somebody have 19 rebounds in a women's basketball game in over 2 decades. So it's been a long time since somebody had 19 boards, and that having that presence underneath certainly helps, and I think it frees up the guards a little bit to be a little more threatening on the outside.
Right, and you mentioned the 12 points, 19 rebounds. That was her first start. She had not started a collegiate basketball game prior to that, so certainly a bright future there for Brandy Blattner.
Absolutely, it's been a great, it's a great start for them, and like I said before, I think the important thing now is to see how they stack up in the conference, and it's really hard to compare teams when it's been a non-conference schedule because you really don't know the strength of the opponents that other teams in the conference are playing. So the Gustavus game, it's 4-0 against 3-1, so should match up wise, should be a great game, and excited to see how the Cardinals come away.
And the Cardinals men's basketball team, they were undefeated going into last week, but St. Scholastica, kind of a cold shooting night for the Cardinals, and St. Scholastica came away with the victory.
Yeah, it was a tough loss for Coach Rustoven, and the same as the women. The guys started out really well. To get wins in their first 2 games is always nice. Builds a little bit of momentum, and St. Scholastica is a very good team. And as you mentioned, you've got to be able to shoot the ball, and they did struggle a little bit from the field, and that really was the difference in the game. Tip your cap to Wiley Farron. Came through with a big game with 12 points to lead the way. He became the 3rd different leading scorer through 3 games. So just like the women, you're talking about getting a lot of people into the action and getting a different leader, which I think is important, that being able to spread the wealth, so to speak. And Connor Kaiser through 3 games is really having a great start to his senior year. We mentioned Mark Schumacher from before. He's doing a great job, and Will Swigum had a double-double in their 2nd game of the year. So he's playing real well and doing the things that he has done for the past 3 years, and that is be a force at both ends of the court.
Yeah, and talk a little bit more too now about this Mark Schumacher and this Good Works Award that he's up for.
Yeah, he's a nominee for the Good Works Award. It's basically an award by the National Association of Basketball Coaches and Allstate. Allstate is the sponsor, and now what happens is Mark is among 140 NCAA Division 1, 2, 3, and NAIA college basketball players who are up for the honor, and a panel now will take those nominees and whittle it down to the top 10, and that will be the Good Works team. And it has to do as much with what they do off the court as what they do on the court. And as I said earlier in this segment, Mark's volunteer work has just been phenomenal. And you look at his resume and the things that he's done, and certainly is not only deserving of a nomination, but really he's deserving of being one of those 10 on the Good Works team.
And we plan to have a student athlete spotlight on Mark on next week's Cardinals Nest, so be sure to tune in for that. Donnie, swimming and diving, they've been off for a couple of weeks, but in their last performance, made some noise at the Gustavus Invitational, especially the women divers and the men swimmers.
Yeah, great job by Shelby Peterson and Eiley Davidson, finishing in the top 4 in both the 1 meter and the 3 meter diving. And, Coach Bartholomew is very happy with the way things are kind of gelling together for the swimming and diving team. It's a tough time for them right now because they had the Gustavus meet, then they had the week before with Thanksgiving. Now they've got the Gene Freeman Invitational this weekend, and then they're off for Christmas and not back in competition until the 16th of January. So it's kind of a tough road to hoe, especially for a training type sport. So we'll see how that works out. Guys side, Joe Tonda and Lucas Ruccavina, we talk about them every week, and I'm pretty sure we're going to continue to talk about them every week. Great job by both of them, having phenomenal seasons. Joe as a junior and Lucas as a freshman. Brian Mokler had a really solid performance for the Cardinals, and a couple of their relay teams are doing very well as well. I just happened to talk to Coach Bartholomew before we came down here to tape, and she's very excited about this weekend. Gene Freeman it's a huge event up at the University of Minnesota, and she's excited to see how things will unfold because she really thinks that some top performances are going to come out of this meet.
And some different competition in that meet, too, than what they would typically go up against, right?
Absolutely, and that's always nice. You know, it's nice to see how you stack up against other people in the conference, but I think even the swimmers like to get out of the conference and kind of see where they're sitting against other teams and other individuals that are not necessarily in the MIAC.
And finally, in this segment, Donnie, women's hockey really looking for some consistency right now. Just having trouble stacking wins together, and that sort of happened again recently.
Yeah, tough loss to St. Norbert last Saturday, 3-2 in overtime in a game that they were leading 2-1 in the third period. And I know, talking to Coach Manor, it was one of those that was really a game that they didn't play very well, but they played well enough to be in the lead. And it was almost like, you know what, let's steal this win. We're not at the top of our game, but we're playing well enough to win, and let's try and steal this win. And St. Norbert came back and scored a late goal in the third period, and then another goal in overtime to win. But solid performances. You got to give Ashley Corcoran a nod in goal. They made her freshman start. First time she started for the Cardinals, 42 saves. A great performance from him. And Jamie Henderson continues to really find a way to put the puck in the net. She scored for the third straight game. So you're right. The consistency, the offense needs to pick up the pace a little bit. And I'm really excited to talk to Bob because the men's team has no problem with their offense at all. And I think the women could use a little bit of that offensive spark. They're playing well in the neutral zone. They're solid in the defensive zone. But you've got to be able to put the puck in the net. And 2 goals in a game is really not going to carry you too far.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk to Bob next here on the Cardinals Nest. The reigning MIAC Athlete of the Week, Bob Kinne, will join us here on the Cardinals Nest from the men's hockey team on HBC.
From the very beginning, HBC has been a leader in advanced technology, community service, and customer care. We are proud of our local roots and hometown values. Dedicated to making a difference, we understand how much our communities benefit by having world-class technology at their fingertips, and having local team members that live in the neighborhoods we serve helps HBC to keep in touch with the needs of each community in a very personalized way. We care about each community, and we are here to stay. Call 888-474-9995 and start experiencing the HBC difference today.
Want the latest news on St. Mary's University athletics? Watch the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman and SMU Sports Information Director Donnie Netto will talk about the past week in Cardinal athletics, highlighting the best in each Cardinal sports team. Player and coach guests will add their stories and insight each week with new shows Thursdays at 5 p.m. and replays Fridays at 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 7:30 a.m. on HBC TV 25.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC, and it's time now for our interview segment. And this week we have Bob Kinne from the men's hockey team joining us. And Bob, last year you were all conference. This week you were named the MIAC Athlete of the Week, so congratulations there. And we'll get to all of that in just a little bit. But first, we like to have our new guests here on the Cardinals Nest sort of introduce themselves a little bit to the community. So maybe tell us about where you're from, your hockey background, and then eventually how you landed to St. Mary's, and maybe your brother's even involved in this story a little bit. So.
I started playing when I was about 4 years old. I've been playing ever since. I went to Cretin-Derham Hall High School. Then I ended up going to 2 years of juniors, one in Lincoln, Nebraska. And then the second year I played in Bismarck, North Dakota. I played a year and a half at Bemidji State. Transferred at Christmas time last year. I wasn't able to talk to Bill or anyone here. The only person we could talk to was Ken Pellegrini. My dad was able to contact him and kind of figure out the money situation and figure out if we could afford me coming to school here, and the rest is history for now.
All right. Well, it's great to have you here, and you're also a sports management major at St. Mary's. So tell us about the student side of the student athlete. Why did you choose sports management? How do you like it? And eventually, what do you hope to do with your sports management degree?
I would say I kind of chose it. It was pretty easy for myself. I just had a sports background. Everyone in my family, my Uncle John coached here. My cousin Nick coaches here now, and my brother coaches as well. So our family's very big into sports, and every time we all get around, we end up talking about sports. So just felt fitting, and it's just easy. So on the school side, just really getting into my major now, getting into my sports classes. Next semester, I'll be taking sports facilities. So I'll be pretty interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, great.
Bob, talk a little bit, because you mentioned that you transferred in at Christmas. The team has already kind of solidified itself by that time. You come in at Christmas break and the players come back and all of a sudden there's this new guy here. What was that like for you to try and get yourself to fit in, to kind of meld yourself with the rest of the team?
It just kind of it was pretty easy. Everyone was very welcoming. I knew a couple guys. I knew Mike Mazzano since my younger days playing. We played on a team together over the fall. It was kind of funny. I came in the locker room, looked around, and said, where am I going to sit? I ended up sitting on like a folding chair for the whole second half of the year, which I didn't mind. Obviously, I even told Coach that I would sit there again this year. So it's pretty fun. Everybody was very welcoming.
How about the adjustment? You had mentioned that you played at Bemidji State. How about the adjustment from the hockey there to the hockey here at St. Mary's?
I think the biggest thing for me was I got a chance to play. I had been sat out the whole first part of the season, my sophomore year, and came down to MSU and finally got to get on the ice and show people what I had and try to help a team win the game.
And Bob, I'm curious too, related to that question, the hockey juniors compared to Division III college, how would you compare that?
I would just say the seasons are much longer. You can take a night off here and there because you have 60 games to make up for a couple points you maybe missed. Whereas here, we only play 25 games, so you have to be ready to go every single weekend.
Talk a little bit about last year's season. Make it to the conference playoff championship game. When you came, Coach Moore always says that the Aurora game, the game you guys lost to Aurora, was kind of like the turning point for the season. And from that point on, you guys it was almost like a light switch came on, and you guys were, rocking and rolling the rest of the season. Talk a little bit about that run that you guys made last year.
I don't know. It just kind of was, everything started to click, I guess, for everybody after Christmas. It seemed to be that everyone was energized, ready to go, happy to see each other, and we just really bared down and made sure we got all the little things done every single weekend. So I think we ended up winning 11 of our 15 games the second half of the season. So that was great for us to make the playoffs and end up in the MIAC championship. We fell one game short of the national tournament. So we really want to make it back and make it even farther this year.
Do you feel any, not you personally, but the team, do you feel any pressure? The MIAC coaches poll has had you sitting at second. As I mentioned, right now you're in first place in the conference at 3-0-1. You're unbeaten in your last 8. Things are going well right now. Do you feel any added pressure for any of that?
I don't think we feel any really outside pressure. It's more pressure on ourselves. We know how good we can be, and we knew we were one game away last year, and it's going to take everything and even more to get back there this year because teams are going to be ready for us. We're not going to be a sleeper this year. So,
I've talked to Coach Moore a lot about your offense. I kind of hinted to it in the first segment. The advantage it seems like you guys have is they can't focus on you, or they can't focus on Marty. They can't focus on your line with Chad on that line because you have so many other people who have proven that they can score. As Coach Moore always says, you've got a fourth line center who's leading your team in goals. Does that take a little pressure off of you in that you or that line, in that you don't have to worry about being the go-to people for you guys?
I mean, it's definitely great when our line has an off night to have Jay or Jared Johnson or Kellen Wassel really step up and make some plays. Even Albergo and Walsey's line, they come up big every single night. It takes all 20 of us every single night to win a game. So it can't just be me, Martin, or Chad, or whoever's out there. So, I mean, it really takes a collective effort. Even Phil steals some games for us every now and again.
Well, you can't really say that you have off nights. I mean, you look at the numbers that you guys have put up. You and Marty are just absolutely on fire. Last 6 games, you've got 14 points, 7 goals and 7 assists. I mean, you guys are certainly doing your part.
I really think it just starts from Not our line, really. It really starts from the line before us that's on the ice. I mean, they create momentum. They keep the other team hemmed down. Usually happens after an icing or something like that. We'll get out there, and the other team will be tired, and we get a good chance because of the other lines that were out there before us.
So, Bob, your reaction when you're named MIAC Athlete of the Week like you were this past week, you talked about all of the effort from your teammates, and of course hockey is such a team sport, but your reaction to some of these individual awards. Last year it was all conference. You won MIAC Athlete of the Week last year as well as this past week.
I really think it's a team award. Even though I get individual success or recognition, it really is about the team, my line mates, and just the coaching staff. And it all starts with the preparation throughout the week to get everybody ready. I mean, every guy comes in just to work every day at the rink and just does their job and gets everybody prepared for the weekend.
Talk a little bit, and you can put it on the spot as much as you want, but talk a little bit about playing for your brother. Ben is the assistant coach here, and I know you guys have a great relationship, but what's it like to kind of have to take orders from him?
I think it's pretty fun, actually. It's kind of comical sometimes. We'll sit back there and laugh, and even during the game we'll laugh every once in a while, but he really understands me as a player and knows how to get the most out of me every single night. So it's really great to have my brother back there. I can really go and talk to him anytime I want, say, hey, I need help on something, and he's not afraid to yell at me, and I know how to take it since we were little kids. So he's always been giving me instructive criticism since we were little.
Bob, the team this year is 6-2-2. You have Concordia coming up. We've talked about how good the offense, how prolific the offense has been this year. Is the defense where it needs to be? If not, what do you need to do to get it there?
I think we definitely need to sharpen up on defense. I think I was looking the other day, we're somewhere down in the 40s or 50s for defense in the country. We give up about 3.3 goals a game, I think it was. So we'd really like to get that down to under 2. Coaches and staff gave us a stat the other day. We're 3-0-0 with 2 goals or less, and we're 0-2-2 if we give up more than 3 goals. So, I mean, if we can keep it down, it makes it easier on Phil and makes it easier on the rest of us. We shouldn't have to score 5 goals every night to win a game.
Even though it is fun to score 5 goals every night, right?
Yeah.
Well, and you can still keep doing that and play good defense, right? You're coming off a couple of big wins over Aurora University, 7-4 and 5-3. Now the long bus ride to Concordia. How do you avoid a letdown? I mean, that's a long ways to go, and it's a start of the conference season, so a couple of big games.
I mean, really, we just have to be ready to play, even though it's a long trip. They have to make the long trip every time they go somewhere, so it's no excuse for us to not being ready to go. We just have to have a good rest of the week of practice. Things have been good so far. Coaching staff's been happy, so we just have to be ready to go and ready to go there and win a couple games.
So, Bob, real quick, just one question. We've got a little feature on Martin Gruse coming up. What should we know about your line mate?
I don't know. Martin's he's something else sometimes. Just kind of give him the puck and let him do his thing.
All right. So, Bob, thanks for being on the show today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. When we come back, Ricky Palermo will be talking with Marty Gruse here on HBC.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC, and it was great having Bob Kinne in just a few minutes ago. And now, Donnie, Ricky Palermo is going to be talking with one of his line mates. That's Marty Gruse. And those two, as you mentioned, have been really doing so much of the scoring this year for the Cardinals men's hockey team. I think In talking to Bob, and in a minute we'll see from Marty, there's just a certain level of both physical and mental maturity with these men's hockey players that truly is remarkable.
Absolutely, and you know the thing is they're genuinely great human beings. I mean, they're fun to work with. They're very talented, but I think they have the ability to stay humble. Right now, they're having a lot of success, but you know, thanks to Coach Moore and Coach Kinne, they're able to just stay focused on the task at hand and not get caught up in the awards. As you could kind of tell with Bob, he didn't really want to.
Go into that.
Into that. So it's a lot of fun, and it was great to have Bob on here, and he did a wonderful job. And like you said before, it's really fun to have those guys.
So what's Marty Groose all about? Let's find out from Ricky Palermo.
Last year, Marty Groose led not only St. Mary's, but the entire MIAC in goals and points. His 38 points were good for best in the MIAC and earned him a top 10 finish in all of the D3 land. This year, with only one MIAC series under his belt, Groose already has 11 points, which is good for third in the MIAC. Last weekend, the Cardinals swept the Royals at home on Friday and away on Saturday and outscored them 19-3. Groose's 7 points last weekend earned him MIAC Player of the Week honors. And now let's hear what he has to say about that.
I mean, I think a lot of other guys could deserve it. I think the team really could deserve that award. I mean, obviously, if they weren't putting the puck in the net, it wouldn't have happened. So I think, just winning this past weekend by such a marginal outcome was way better than, the MIAC Athlete of the Week.
How big of a team win was that last weekend?
That was phenomenal. We had everybody chip in. We had Jay Heinley and Jared Johnson pick up their first collegiate hat tricks, which is always, good to see when other guys can put the puck in the net besides, your top two lines. And, just seeing everybody mature in the first week of the MIAC conference games is just really good to see.
Freshman year, the scoring wasn't really there for you. It didn't really come. And then last year, you led the MIAC in points and goals, and you were top 10 in the NCAA Division III. So what happened between freshman and sophomore year that all of a sudden you come out with such high offensive power?
I think with every player, there's growing pains in their first year, no matter what league they're in, and that's what happened with me. I had a lot of responsibility as a freshman, and I didn't really know how to take it. With that being said, training in the off season was very well, and I mean, coming back the following year, I had pretty much the same duties, to live up to, and I was just a lot more comfortable on the ice.
How good is the MIAC? In terms, you've played in multiple leagues before. How tough is the MIAC?
I played against a lot of the guys who are in the MIAC, so I know they're very good players, but Division III is kind of like a older league compared to Division I, and these guys work, I think, a lot harder than most of the Division I players. So I think it's pretty tough league, to be honest with you.
Now, before the season started, you guys got the #2 preseason poll ranking. I saw you in class that day, and you weren't too thrilled with that. So take me through your thoughts about being ranked #2 to start the year.
I mean, obviously it's an honor to be up that high, but we had a goal and we want to be #1, and that's what we were trying to work for, and that's what's been going on every single day, through training in the summer and captain's practice here. We have a goal to set, and we need to redeem ourselves from last year. I think just bonding with the team, you get so close to one another, and that really just sets a mark where you want to do whatever you can to help the team win, and that's what I think everybody on the team does, try to win for one another and, giving back to the community, for them coming out, hopefully win some games.
The Cardinals are lucky to even have landed Groose. He was set on playing hockey out east. 2 days before school started, he contacted some old teammates, and the Cardinals ended up landing Marty Groose.
It's pretty much a quick turnaround after I left the school I was going to go to out east, and I decided to come here 2 days before moving, pretty much. I knew Jonathan Elliott and Joe Van Antwerp, so I texted them right away after I decided the place I was going to wasn't, suit my style. And I asked them how it was going, and they said it's great, so I called Bill Moore and said, come on out.
Now, you knew Joey from back home in Michigan?
Yes. We played high school against and with each other for a few years.
So you've got the best of them a few times before?
Yeah, we got the best of them.